Good evening, everybody. Now we're going to do part 2 of Parashat Naso. That's in Bamidbar. That is Numbers chapter 5, verse 2. So it goes like this. Well, verse 1. Vidaber Hashem el Moshe Lemor. God spoke to Moses, saying, Tzav es b'nei Israel. You should command the children of Israel. Yishalchu min hamachaneh. Should command, right, that they should send away from the camp. Kol tzarua, anyone who has, we're going to call it leprosy. We know it's a spiritual skin disease. V'chol zav, and anyone that has an emission. V'chol tamei lenefesh, and anyone who has, who's become impure through a corpse. So you have now, interestingly enough, we now have the camp set up. Even though our chapter, right, Bamidbar, Numbers originally started. We talked about it being the first day of the second month in the second year, that being the first of ER. This chapter now that we're discussing is happening a month earlier. It's on the first day of the first month of the second year. And how do we know? Because can you imagine after they set up the camp and the Mishkan, the erection of the Mishkan took place on the first day of Nisan, that you're going to have these people who were had saras or had a zav emission or were impure by a corpse walking around freely. Already 2 weeks later, we talk about the command for Pesach Sheni. People come forward and say, look, we are tameh. Why are we being left out? So we'll see that as well, that's how we know. 2 weeks later, just a chapter or two later, we see people asking the fact that they are impure by a corpse. What are they supposed to do? And that's already on the 14th of the first month. So we're just a few chapters before that. So this is 2 weeks before that. So let's go into the thing. V'yishalchu min hamachaneh kol tzarua v'chulei. Right, and you shall send. They should send. Right, the children of Israel were commanded to send outside the camp any one of these three types. We started with the tzarua, which is the one who has leprosy. We're going to call it leprosy, but we all know it's called tsaras. Achar shesider kol shalosh machanos ish al diglo. After there was organized, right? You had 4 sides to the camp. You had 3 tribes on each side. So that's the 12 tribes. You had towards the center, or around the center, you had Levi, and in the middle, right, that's where you had the kahuna, that's where you had the tabernacle, and each tribe had their own flag, their own position. Alkin hisker miyad seder kedusha shlosh machanos elu. Therefore, you have immediately the organization and the command for the holiness of these 3 camps. Ki hatzarua mishulach min hashloshtan. You have to send out the leper from all 3 camps, meaning he must be outside. And what does he do? He sits by himself and he says, I'm impure. The zav, the one that had the emission, chutz l'shnayim. He's just not allowed to be in the most inner camp. V'tamei lenefesh. I'm sorry, chutz l'shnayim, meaning he can only be in the outer camp. He can't be in the inner 2 camps. And the tamei lenefesh, the one who is impure by the corpse, chutz l'machane shechina. He's not allowed to be in the most inner camp of the divine presence, which is where the Mishkan is. V'seder shiluach zeh maskim l'divrei midrash. And the organization of, the order of sending these people out, the Midrash agrees with very much. And now we have to understand the Midrash. This in Bamidbar Rabbah 7:10. It says, "Yishalchu min hamachaneh kol tzarua." Right. Our verse says they were commanded to send out from the camp all of the people who had tsaras. Zeh avodah zarah. It's very strange that the Midrash is equating this to idol worship. What do we know about people who have leprosy? This tsaras, it's due to lashon hara. But okay, for now we're going to take it at face value. The Midrash says This is related to, or because of, somehow relating to idol worship. And what about the zav? V'chol zav zagilu arayos. This is related to illicit sexual relations. Kiuba mishchat zara. This is coming on account of the spilling of seed. V'chol tamei lenefesh. And what about anybody that became impure because of a corpse? Zeshvichut dami. This is related to murder. And what do we know about these three? What does it ring a bell? It's the three cardinal sins. And not only that, this is the reason for the exile and the destruction of the very first Beis HaMikdash. So it seems that this Medrash is darshaning out this verse. The entire verse is relating to an exile, a national exile. The kasha. Well, we have a question. Galiyut mandach hashmei. Nobody even mentioned the word exile in this verse, in these verses. We're talking about personal exile, national exile. Kidat Baal HaMedrash zeh lahotzi pasuk zeh pshuto legamrei. It certainly sounds like the opinion of this Medrash, the Baal Medrash, the author, is taking out the understanding of the verse from its most simple understanding in its entirety. Venira. So he wants us to check this out. Take a look. This is how it seems. Shadat Baal HaMedrash l'tarei tzmichut parsha zulakani. That really what the Baal HaMedrash, the author of the Medrash, is doing is coming to answer why our Parsha, this Parsha, is juxtaposed where it is. Ki barosh chodesh Nisan Emra. He's saying this is relating, as I mentioned in the little introduction, if you look in Rashi, to 5:1, which I actually have here. Yeah. It's actually 5:2. Chapter 5, verse 2, Rashi, command the children of Israel, Tzav et b'nei Israel, Tzav et b'nei Israel, Parsha zu nemra, b'yom shehu chal mishkan. That this passage was said to Moses on the day the tabernacle was erected. Ushmona parshiyot nemru bo b'yom. There were 8 other passages in the Torah said during that day, and there's a list. I'm not going to go through it right now. You can find that in Gemara Gittin. And he explains why. I'll read the little note. The erecting of the tabernacle described in Exodus chapter 40 took place on the first day of Nisan, and although the preceding chapters of Bamidbar were already in Numbers, are dated, started on the first of Iyar. That's 1 month later. But the commandment to restrict the movement of the impure that appears in our passage must have been given on the first of Nisan. For it is inconceivable that there would have been a period of time during which the impure would have been allowed to enter the grounds of the sanctuary. This was all mentioned by me in the introduction, and we can move forward. The in locain, because if it's not the case that it happened on the first of Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan, Lama bo hatmein el Moshe baro esher Nisan. So if you look later in chapter 9, verse 7, we see that these impure people come to Moses on the 14th of Nisan and say, Anachnu tmein lenefesh adam lam nigra. Right? We're impure. Why should we be left out because of the human corpse impurity? So we know, this is a few chapters before, it all makes sense, because we're talking about the Mishkan, during the time that we already have the Mishkan, which has to be before the first of Iyar, which is 30 days after. Okay? Elavadai, rather, certainly, Achashisider Mishkan al Mechono. It must be after the Mishkan was already set up and organized in its place. Hishrash Shechinato, Yisbarach B'tocham. That's when God's presence came to reside amongst them. Bo, Hizhiram Shalo Yisavu Silu Hashchina, Ayidei Shlosha Rishei Averos Elu. So that's why it's coming as a warning, right? Not to bring about a reason for the removal of the Shekhinah through these main, we'll call them again, cardinal sins. Even though it doesn't sound like they're talking about cardinal sins, all we see is that anybody that has tzaras, anybody that has a zavat demission, and anybody that's impure by a corpse has to leave the camp. Well, even leaving the camp is a sense of an exile. That's one concept. but also the fact now that we have a camp, and if you don't remove yourself, the Shekhinah may have to be removed. So better remove the impure than to have the Shekhinah be removed. But if it's relating to the exile, a national exile, there are hints to the sins that caused the national exile, which is also similar to the Shekhinah being in exile and leaving its holy place as well. I'll read it again. Bo lahazhiram shelo yisavu busilu hashchina aidei shlosh reishei averos elu. Right? It's coming to give us a warning. Right? Not to cause a reason for the removal of the holy presence of God through these three cardinal sins. That's the reason for the destruction of the temple. That's the reason why there's a command to send out from the camp. Kol tzarua, anyone that has this, we'll call it leprosy, anybody has this skin disease, the spiritual skin disease, v'chol zav, as well as anyone who has this emission, and he doesn't even mention it, but also the tumas mace, the impurity through the corpse. Kishlosha elu simanim muvhakim al asher v'kirbam. Because these are very clear signs of what is actually going on inside. In other words, what happens on the outside are simanim, are signs of what's going on deep inside of us. Blemishes are signs that there's bad that's on the inside and needs to come out. Okay, he uses this as a running theme. Oh, shemetz minos shel vodazar nizraku boy. Now, what did we talk about here? We mentioned that tsaras is going to come about. This leprosy is going to come about as the Medrash mentioned in relationship to idol worship. But we know that it comes about through lashon hara. So we have to figure out what he means here. He says that a shred of heresy is coming about. It's just being thrown in here. Ki al ze bo hatzaras. Just because of even a bit of heresy of idol worship, this is the cause for the tzaras. Like it says by the egel, when the chet egel, when we involved ourselves with the sin of the golden calf, it says in Exodus 32, verse 25, V'yar Moshe esa'am ki paruahu. Okay? Moses saw the people that it was exposed. What does it mean? Parua? It's a hint that they became pained. They were involved. There was leprosy. And Chazal say, and this is in Midrash Rabbi also, shenitz ta'aru, that it was pain. K'mo shenemar b'mitzora. If you look in Vayikra, that's Leviticus 13:45, it says, Rosho yet perua, the hair of his head should be unshaven. Al avon zeh nechra bayis rishon. Now, meaning, we're using the word perua. Let's look up Vayikra real quick.
What's the word we're looking up?
We're looking up the verse, Vayikra 13:45. I'll explain in a second. Vayikra 13:45. We're talking about the person who has tsaras. So there's baldness at the front and the back of his head. The hair comes out. So 45 says, and the person with tsaras, in whom there is an affliction, his garment shall be rent, the hair of his head shall be unshorn, and he shall cloak himself up to his lips, and he shall call out, contaminated, contaminated. Right? So, in other words, he's not supposed to get a haircut. It's supposed to be wild. But it means to be pained. Right? When you don't get a haircut, it's not very comfortable. Right? You like to have comfortable short hair. So let's go back into so there's this idea of pain. Shnitz aru, that he was pained, like it says by the Mitzorah, that his head should be unshorn, meaning it should be uncomfortable for him. Al avon zeh nechra bayis rishon, and on account of this sin, the first base of Mikdash v'sheni, and the second base of Mikdash was destroyed. on account of Avodah Zarah. Ki afa pi shelo avdu Avodah Zarah v'bayis sheni. But 1 second. Bayis Rishon, the first temple, was destroyed for the big three cardinal sins. Bayis Sheni, we say, was destroyed because of Lashon Hara and Sinat Chinam, causeless hatred. So 1 second. There was no Avodah Zarah really in the second temple. But there was what we call Sinat Chinam and Lashon Hara, the Lashon Hara. Hashakuk Avodah Zarah. Did you know that talking Lashon Hara is equal, mamish on par, with idol worship? Kamo shalamdu chazal, like in the Yilkut it mentions, Asher amru l'shonenu nagbir safotenu itanu mi adon lanu. If you look up in Tehillim, that's Psalms 12, verse 5, those who have said, because of our tongues we shall prevail, our lips are with us, who is master over us? So there's a relationship here between idol worship and what we speak about. Shel mesaper lashon hara chashuv k'kofer beikar. That someone who speaks lashon hara is considered as if he's a complete heretic. He's like a non-believer. B'tam shiluach mitzvah chutz l'shlosha machanot, and the reason that we send out the leper outside of the 3 complete encampments, he's outside mamash. L'rachek shemes avodah zara mishloshtan, in order to get rid of, to distance ourselves from even a shred of heresy, of idol worship, from all 3 camps. V'im ba'avon l'shen hara tzarich liot bedad moshava. It's right. It's on account of the sin of lashon hara. We require the person to dwell alone. He is going to be by himself. Kashem shehivdil beinish lechavera. Just like he wanted to cause a separation between people, between one man and his friend, by speaking this lashon hara, he turned people against each other. Im lo yiyeh meruchach mikol shlosh machanot. And if he's not, this is the only one that's distant from all 3 camps. If he wasn't distant from all 3, lo yeh bedad moshavo, then he wouldn't be dwelling alone. There would always be people around to talk to. Now what about the zav? The chol zav, we're talking about the one with the emission. Ki ziva shaloot al shehu parutz ba'arayos. This emission is a sin. This is a sign. The emission happens to prove for him, it's a sign for him that he was breaking through, he was violating his sexual relations, illicit sexual relations. Therefore, what comes to him? This emission, it's breaking through. And he sent out from the most inner camp, as well as the second camp. He can still associate himself with the Yisrael camp. So he sent out from the 2 inner camps, which has a high level of kedusha, holiness. You got to realize that something holy cannot carry or handle something so wrong as is sexual illicit relations. This comes to exclude that most outer camp, which is the camp of Israel, she'ein bo kol ka kedusha, which doesn't have as much holiness as the inner 2 camps. The chol tamei lenefesh. And what about the 3rd category? The person who is impure through the corpse, the dead corpse. Ki ze moire gam kema ruach ivya asher bekirbo. Gam kema ruach ivim asher bekirbo. This is teaching us, this is reflecting on some type of a spirit of confusion which is within him. V'she'eno mafkid lehitamei benefesh adam ay leshficha dami. He's not so concerned, he's not so careful about becoming spiritually impure by a man, and it could be, as he says, a result of, it's like murder. Hanogeh b'tzel elokim kaviyachol. And he's touching, as if he's touching, right? We're talking about touching a dead body. The dead body was created in the image of God, and still remains in the image of God. Al Kain Rosh Yitrachek Machane Shechina. Because he touches the dead bodies, this is a reason to distance himself from the most inner camp, which is the camp of the divine presence. Because he somehow it's defective. He's causing a blemish in the honor of the Shechina. And because these three, Garma, Churban, they're the cause for the actual destruction of the temples, the Siluch HaShechina, and the removal of the divine presence. Al Kain Siva l'Rachacham min HaMachaneh. Therefore, the command is to distance these people from the Machaneh. Shelo yitamu min et Machanehem, and they should not cause the tumah amongst the camp. Ki b'macham shehema mitzoyim kadosh baruch hu marchi shkinato misham, because the place that they're found, Hashem distanced himself from there. Ki amakam tamei yikara. So the place that he's supposed to go to, he's going to call out, contaminated I am, contaminated. Remez l'davar. Now this is a little bit tricky here. He says this hints in the word tamei itself. You have three letters. You have the tes, the mem, and the aleph. So the tes, he says, remez l'shvichad dam. How is that tes hinted to by the concept of murder? See, it says like this: Shvichad dam hanolad l'tisha chadashim. That you're spilling the blood of that which was born. It took 9 months of gestation in the mother's womb. Ki mitam zeh. Remember, the number tes is number 9. Ki mitam zeh hayu ari miklat sheish. Now we had, right, 3 ari miklat on one side of the Jordan, 3 ari miklat on the other side of the Jordan. So you had a total of 6. But if you look in Devarim, in Deuteronomy 19:9, it says that there's a future when Hashem promises that He will expand our borders. Then you will add another 3 cities, which means there's 9 cities. Bein hakol teisha. So you really find that there's 9 cities, v'lo yoter, not more than that. Min hatam shenit ba'er. And what are the cities of refuge for? These cities of refuge are there for what we call manslaughter, inadvertent murder, negligence, and therefore killing people. So you can see the relationship between 9 months of gestation period for the man, that's the person you killed or that was killed, or related to the 9 ultimate cities of refuge that we will have in the future. Now what about the mem? You have the word tameh. You had tes we dealt with. Mem, from the word tameh, is remez l'gilei arayos. This hints to the idea of illicit sexual relations. If you look in Genesis chapter 7 verse 4, it talks about that it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And why was it raining? Because of the Hamas and the illicit relations that were happening not just between the beasts, but between man and perhaps the giants. Not going to go into that right now, but he starts like this: Al richu liyotram letzortzorat mamzerim ba'arbayim yamek yitziras havlad. If you look in Rashi over there in chapter 7, verse 4, he mentions this idea that that God was pained, right? You're painting God because He had to destroy all of mankind, and there were a lot of mamzerim, there were a lot of results, consequences of the illicit sexual relations that He had to destroy. And the formation period takes 40 days, right? We know for formation of the fetus takes 40 days, and that's why there were 40 days of rain, straight through 40 days and 40 nights of rain, relating to the destruction of the 40 days of the blood of the fetus that is considered a mamzer. That was a result, the consequences of illicit sexual relations. And then you have the third letter in the word tamei, which again, tamei means the impure. So the last letter is aleph, remez levodazara. Why is aleph the letter Aleph hinting to idol worship. Hanogea ba'achdus Hashem Yisbarach. That the letter Aleph always represents God. So you're touching, you're affecting the unity of God. Haremuz ba'aleph. That's hinted at in the Aleph. Al ken kar Dovid HaMelech liyetzara. That's after we got done explaining all three letters. Now we understand why Dovid HaMelech, King David, called the Yetzirah, the evil inclination, Tameh. He called the evil inclination impure. Lefi shehikshilu b'shaloshta. He actually stumbled in all three of them. Gili Arayis. How did he stumble in illicit sexual relations? The Batsheva, the famous story with Batsheva. Shvichat Damim. How did David HaMelech involve himself in murder? But Uriah Chiti, right? He should have had him killed by the Sanhedrin. Instead, he sent him to the front lines, and he was murdered by, killed by the Goyim. Avodah Zarah, and what about Avodah Zarah? Idol worship. David HaMelech worshiping idols. Gemara Sanhedrin, it learns out of the verse. If you look in Shmuel Beit, 2 Samuel 15, verse 32, it says, "Vi David bo ad harosh." David was on his way to the summit on Mount of Olives, where he would prostrate himself to God when he saw the tabernacle, when it came into view. And the Gemara tells us David had a chush, a sense, a desire, bikesh lavodah zarah. He actually wanted to worship, but of course he didn't. But it was there, the desire was there. The yesh behem gam came tuma. They're all impure. Ki avodah zarah metame kanida. And avodah zarah, we know, is tame like nida. It says in Isaiah, Tizrain kamo dava, right? Put them far away. You're talking about the idols. Put them far away. As one is unclean, be gone. You must shun, get rid of, just like you would, here it says, Anita, Nitoi. Al kain remiz b'harchachat shlosh tmei melu. Therefore it hints to the distancing of these three impure people. L'harchachat shlosh rishei averos. And we see the connection, right, to distance these three types. One should become distant. One should distance themselves from these cardinal sins. Because that is what causes the Shekhinah, the divine presence, to leave the Jewish people. And therefore we see there's a juxtaposition real close in our Parsha to one of the verses. If you look in Numbers 5, chapter 5, verse 6, right? Ish o isha ki yasem mikol hatot adam. A man or a woman, when they shall do from any of the sins of man, chatos adam. What does that mean? Sins of man, the Haros teaches us, shaharchachat meimu gam came ba'avor chatam. That to distance yourself, that these sins, right? Shaharchas tmeim, you want to move away these impure people, also not just from the people, but also from the sin. You want to distance yourself from the sin, which is very important. And I wish everyone a good Shabbos and a Hag Sameach, Shavuos, Hag Sameach, everybody. Let's make a big kinyan in the Torah.